Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. These are now around 2 to 4 minute, sometimes as long as 6 to 10 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 2 to 4 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book your coworker won't stop raving about because it quote-unquote changed their life, but you can't see any difference in their leadership behavior. So how good could that author be? Okay, so admittedly, this is going to seem random and weird, but it's a shorts episode, so I get to do random and weird stuff on here. Look, writing and publishing a book, any book for that matter, shouldn't be an act of producing drivel to win the SEO game and control an author panel at the top of a Google search. That's my conclusion, but let's go back and explore exactly how I got there. One of the many lessons we recently learned from the recently unsealed United States Department of Justice documents from their antitrust suit against the Penguin Random House / Simon & Schuster merger of a couple of years ago revealed that, and I quote, 58,000 titles published in a year. The Department of Justice collected data on those titles, and they discovered that 90% of them, 90% of 58,000 titles sold fewer than 2,000 copies, and 50% of the 58,000 titles sold less than a dozen copies. Close quote. And that's books across all genres, including mystery, science fiction, young adult books, etc., etc., etc. As a matter of fact, publishing houses are only making money off of their back catalogs. It was also revealed in these unsealed United States Department of Justice documents, and the number one selling book continues to be the Bible, at 80 million copies a year, according to, I believe, Penguin Random House. That's a lot of Bibles. What's worse, and this is also something that was revealed through the unsealed documents, most publishing houses don't deliver advances anymore. And if they do deliver an advance, it's not more than $5,000 to unknown and non-celebrity authors, because authors, all authors across all genres who are going to publish a book these days are expected to have their own previously developed marketing and sales funnels designed to move book units. The publishing houses will send you an editor, but they won't help you market your book. This is why every business author you've ever heard of, from Malcolm Gladwell to Adam Grant, were famous before they published a business book, rather than publishing a business book and becoming famous as a result, like the business authors of the past, such as Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie, to name just a couple. Many people who are consultants, coaches, trainers, and developers of people in the social sciences spaces know these facts, understand these facts about the book publishing and book writing business innately, which is why many of them avoid the publishing houses and the traditional agent route, and they just go ahead and many of them self-publish a book. They would rather spend the $5,000 they would have received via an advance on self-publishing a book that may sell less than a dozen copies, but on a long enough timeline, they may recoup their $5,000. Unfortunately, just as in many other genres, the lack of gatekeepers, editors, and quality book production in the field of self-publishing has led, as it inevitably does, to an entire mass of business books whose content is, let me be generous, garbage. Or even worse, it is content produced by cynical content creators that is written to create authority in a Google search rather than to solve the real human problems human beings are living under in our current businesses and workplaces. By the way, when you write such a book, this is the other end of the spectrum that's never talked about. You have now almost 2 generations of readers who are incapable or struggle with the critical thinking necessary to go through a complicated human development problem and to come to a simple solution. Thus, you have watered down garbage content delivered to people who struggle with critical thinking skills and who are just looking for an authority to slap on a product so that they don't get fired for buying it by their boss. Business authors, coaches, consultants, and others, the act of publishing a book or writing on Substack or your blog or sending out a newsletter weekly or making a podcast should be an act of generosity. Take it up because you really want to move the lever of the world of human beings and interpersonal human interaction. However, increasingly, the act of publishing is revealing creators' deeper motives, and the audience knows what the deal is, even if they can't critically understand the arguments in the book, and they vote with their attention first and their money second. Yeah, we learned a lot from those unsealed documents. And well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, you should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube. Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. There are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, that's it for me.